We're going to bring the meeting to order. If we can all rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Call the roll tonight. We'll make note that Mr. Faulkner and Mrs. Grimm are not present tonight. It's not listed on our agenda, but we do need a motion for the approval of the minutes from last meeting. Got it. Motion to second. Are there any questions? All those in favor? Aye. Aye. And we'll move on to presentations. This is Viola.
Thank you, Mr. Valentine. This evening we have two presentations that we're going to be speaking about. And the first, I have the pleasure of talking a little bit about Mr. Will James. And Mr. James has just recently moved on from a position of our school resource officer, where he held the position for 14 years at the high school. He was certified as a school resource officer through NASRO, which is the National Association of School Resource Officers. And while he was at the high school, he started and led the peer mediation program at the high school that has been quite successful for our students. He also served on the Pottsgrove High School SNAP team and was an integral in creation of our SNAP Academy, which is another group that works with students in helping them to make good choices in the school. And most recently, he served as the junior class advisor for the past 3 years and helped with the prom and all of our activities that we have for students, taking students on the junior class trip, organizing some of the Color Day activities. And I can't thank Mr. James enough, Sergeant James, I should say now, enough for all of his hard work and dedication to our school district. And Will is here tonight, and I would like to call him up and give him a certificate of appreciation. And Dr. Ziegler, if you could also come forward and present this. Also this evening, I wanted to let everyone know that it is School Board Recognition Month. And I'd like to take a moment myself to remind people of what our school board members do for our community. These are 9 unpaid people that are representing the community of the Pottsgrove School District, and they work countless hours to help us oversee the operation of the district. They vote on multi-million-dollar budget, they help us hire staff, they help us select textbooks and curricula and make policy decisions. They review bus schedules and transportation, they handle numerous issues that come out through the community, and they try to be the voice of the community in understanding the issues and make the best informed decision that they can. And they put in countless hours. They probably spend 20 hours easily 20 hours a month. I know I sat last night with 3 of our board members here in a 3.5-hour board meeting that wasn't even in the district, that actually was to operate our Western Career and Technical Center. So some of you don't see the many hours that they put in, but they do so many countless things for the district, and I want to take a moment to recognize them. There's a certificate in their board packet this evening, and I know Mrs. Kohler and the West Pottsgrove community put together a small gesture of their appreciation. And also, before we do a round of applause, most importantly, I'd like to hear from the second grade students.
Thank you. We're always excited to have the school board here at West Pottsgrove. And the students have been working on showing their appreciation for all that the school board does for them on a regular basis. At your place, you should have found an envelope with a pretty bow on it and a little treat. And inside are some cards and notes from the students thanking you for all that you do. I want you to know that these are from the students' hearts and from the teachers telling them a little bit about what school board members do. So I hope that you will enjoy reading those when you have a free moment. And to represent the student body, I have some of our second graders here this evening who have some things they would like to thank you for as well. So we're going to go ahead and start with them.
My name is Ashlyn. I am a second grader here at West Pottsgrove. I would like to say thank you for all the books in the school and thank you for keeping us safe.
Hi, my name is Sarah Yost. I'm in second grade here at West Pottsgrove. I would just like to say, dear members of the school board, thank you for all you do to help us do well in school. Also, thank you for all the supplies and field trips and library. Thank you.
My name is Karan Artis. I am a second grader at West Pottsgrove Elementary School. I want to thank you for after-school karate and thank you for the great teachers here.
My name is Thomas Raimondi. I am a second grader here at West Pottsgrove. I would like to thank you for the assemblies we have here at West Pottsgrove and the other schools in Pottsgrove. Also, I would like to thank you for nice bus drivers and our safe school buses.
My name is Jordan Singhas. I am a second grader in Mr. Yanchik's class at West Pottsgrove Elementary. I am thankful for good lunches, events, and fun activities. Thank you.
My name is Ethan. I am a second grader here at West Pottsgrove. I would like to thank you for field day, school, good principals, the playground. Thank you.
My name is Adam Waters. I am a second grader here at West Pottsgrove. I would like to thank you for computers plus iPads and clubs and special classes.
Thank you, boys and girls. I just want the board to know that I met with the students. We brainstormed a list of all of the things that we were thankful for here at the school, and then they wrote their statements themselves. So I'm really proud of them. They did a really great job, and I want to thank them and their parents for coming out tonight. Good job, guys. Very proud of you. And thank you on behalf of all of the staff and students here at West Pottsgrove. Thank you for all that you do for all of the students in the Pottsgrove School District.
On behalf of the board, I just wanted to say thank you, Mrs. Kohler, and to the parents and students coming out tonight. It really means a lot to us to hear from the students, and after all, this is what this is all about, so thank you. I do have to announce the board held an executive session on December 16th and also on January 6th for budgetary purposes. And with that, we already approved the minutes. And we're going to move into receiving of accounts for audit. You're up, Rick. Your turn. Rick is going to be filling in tonight for Mrs. Grimm, who's absent. Receiving of accounts for audit.
I move that we accept the high school, the middle school, and the cafeteria accounts as presented.
Are there any questions? All those in favor? Aye.
I move that we ratify the payment of invoices in the amount of $3,898,727.99 for November 2014 as presented.
Motion and a second. Are there any questions? All those in favor? Aye.
I move that we approve the payment of invoices in the amount of $5,786,356.94 for December 2014 as presented.
Second. Motion and a second. Are there any questions? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed?
Last, I move that we approve the treasurer's reports for November 2014 and December 2014 as presented and file them for audit.
Motion and a second. Are there any questions? All those in favor? Aye. Moving on to public comment tonight. I didn't receive any forms. Is that accurate? Is there anyone who has a public comment? Okay. And report of the superintendent.
Starting first with action items. I recommend that you approve the professional staff items as submitted. Just the professional staff items.
Motion and a second. Are there any questions? All those in favor? Aye.
I recommend that you approve the support staff items as submitted.
Motion and a second. Are there any questions? All those in favor? Aye.
I recommend that you approve the supplemental special payments as submitted.
Motion and a second. Are there any questions? All those in favor? Aye.
I recommend that you approve the student-teacher assignments as submitted.
Motion and a second. Are there any questions? All those in favor? Aye.
I recommend that you approve the miscellaneous items as presented.
Motion and a second. Are there any questions? All those in favor? Aye.
I recommend that you approve the acquisition as presented. Is that the typo?
Can you just, if you could just explain just a little bit about what action item 1 is, just so people following along can.
Sure. Per some previous conversation, we spoke to you about the measures of academic progress, which is MAP, and this is an assessment tool that will be utilized within the district in a pilot program. And it's different from other assessment programs in that it doesn't test what the students have mastered, but rather what they're ready to learn. So it's diagnostic in that it gives the teachers a better read on where the students are so that they can apply their teaching skills at the right level for students. And we want to use this to help monitor progress toward the Common Core state standards and also to assist us in reaching students based on the data that we have available. And the way we have this laid out is a pilot program for gifted students and for students receiving Title I services so that we can better assess their needs and then program very highly specifically for those students.
Assuming that the pilot goes well, what would be the next step?
Well, what we're looking at, I think we feel or we believe that this will be an effective use of this data throughout the system in the Pottsgrove School District. Many other school districts already have this in place. We're a little bit behind in trying to get this started, but we wanted to start first with a pilot program and let our teachers experience the use of this assessment tool, and then we'll be coming back to you if we think we need to broaden its base, which we do believe would be probably effective.
Do we have a sense as to what that would cost us district-wide?
I probably would have to defer to Daniel because he's done the most work on the costing of it. I don't have that at my fingertips right now.
If you don't have it now, certainly.
Yeah.
The amount you have before you is representative of about 1,000 students. In addition to the students receiving Title I services and students who are receiving gifted services, it also represents students in 5th, 6th, and 7th grade so that we have a more representative sampling so that we're able to evaluate we're also going to utilize that as another criteria piece in looking at information about students and when they're able to move on with other math pathways. So it would be an increased amount, but approximately this number you have before you is for about 1,000 students, a little bit more than 1,000 students.
Actually, one of the teachers who will be giving this assessment during parent-teacher conferences brought it up with me, and she said she was very excited about having this tool to use because it will make it a lot easier for her to assess where the students are and what she needs to do to help them to grow. So that's just from one teacher, but she was very excited about the tool.
Any other questions? Ms. Klaus, do you have a question? No? You do? Okay.
What grades would this program apply to? Like, is it elementary grades or?
Okay. Good question. So it's actually going to apply for students in grades K through 10, but not necessarily all students in grades K through 10. Students in K through 5, it will be representative of students receiving Title I services or gifted. All 5th, 6th, and 7th grade students, and beyond that, it's really students who are gifted in grades 7 and beyond, up to 10th grade.
Okay. Thank you.
Great. I had a motion and a second. Ask questions. All those in favor? Aye.
Okay, moving on. I recommend that you approve the budget transfers for November and December 2014 as presented.
Motion and a second. Any questions? All those in favor? Aye.
I recommend that you authorize the administration to enter into a contract with Firely Home for Kids as presented.
Motion and a second. Are there any questions? All those in favor? Aye.
I'd like to recommend that we just accept the rest of the business except for number 7. Yeah, go ahead.
Why not 6 then?
Okay, 6. Okay, pardon me. Yeah, 6 and 7. Correct.
So all but 6 and 7.
All but 6 and 7. Is that
Motion
okay?
second. Yep. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right.
Okay, I recommend, I'm moving to number 6 then, that you approve the change order GC 012 for the Pottsgrove High School renovation project as presented.
Can we get an explanation on this? Do we have someone?
Well, just give me 1 second. Let's
Okay.
have a motion. So moved. A second.
This will be our discussion item then here.
Well, we need a motion a second before we
Okay.
discuss.
Second.
Second. Motion a second. Okay.
Okay.
Do you want to do it, David? Do you want? Okay.
This one I can do. When we went through the process of getting the building approved with Lower Pottsgrove Township, we had some issues that they raised regarding the fire rating of the overall building. As part of that process, we agreed to construct some compartments within the building where the internal structure was fire rated so that if a fire were to happen in that area, it wouldn't extend beyond the area. When the ceilings were taken down, the walls that were created 20 or 30 years ago, depending on what part of the building it was in, appeared to be fire rated walls from all visible signs. When we took the ceilings down, we identified that the walls did not go completely to the roof deck. So change order number GCO 12 in the amount of $19,191.86 is to extend some of the walls in this area to meet the fire rating requirements and to perform the compartmentalization the township required.
Again, that's something that would have not been known until you took it apart. Okay. We have a motion and a second. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed?
I recommend that you approve the change order MC003 for the Pottsgrove High School renovation project as presented.
Motion and a second. And if we could just have a explanation on the change order.
This one I may need to lean on our friends from Dewey, but there was a rooftop heating unit in the corridor outside of the 400 wing. When the ceilings were opened up, there was a lot of duct work and plumbing fixtures, electrical runs that needed to go through that area, and it was determined that we needed to move that rooftop unit out of the corridor and over the art room. As a result of that, we had to construct, because it was over a classroom, we needed to put in some additional acoustical insulation to ensure that it didn't interrupt the classroom.
Any other questions?
Can you give us a sense as to how we're doing with all the change orders relative to what was allocated for this type of thing? And I noticed something also in our packet that apparently we didn't spend some money that was potentially anticipated. And I was trying to find it while you were talking, but it seemed like it was a pretty big offset to some of these change orders.
Mr. Hanna will be presenting a spreadsheet that I handed out to each of you today, which will deal with just that information. So if you wait till his presentation, in a couple minutes you'll have it.
Any other questions? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed?
Moving on to unfinished business. Moving on to education. I recommend that you approve the conference attendance as presented.
Second. Motion and a second. Are there any questions? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed?
No.
Okay. I recommend that you approve the mentors as presented.
So moved. Motion and a second. Are there any questions? All those in favor? Aye.
Moving on to discussion items. Perhaps we can stick with the same theme and we'll just move on to some pending change orders. Are you ready? And Jim Hanna from Dewey Engineering is just going to come up and explain a couple of them to you. One we prefaced in your packet. The other, I just received the information yesterday when we met as a design team, and thus I asked Jim to put together a kind of a summary explanation, and I did send it out to you via email ahead of time so you could review it, but Jim will review it again thoroughly now with your questions.
So there are two pending change orders that I want to review with you tonight. One of them has to deal with the tunnel under the instrument music area, which is this area here, which was the former band room. If you remember, the band room had this raised floor previously, before we started demolition. In the back end of this floor, there's a tunnel, a utility tunnel. Now, there's a series of tunnels throughout the building that carry hot water, heating pipes, plumbing pipes, sanitary piping. One of those tunnels is here. The existing drawings, this is a little fuzzy, but the existing drawing shows the tunnel here, and it has a section through that tunnel. And that section, if you can understand this, shows the tunnel here. You see the two walls of the tunnel and the floor going right across. So the assumption was that once that raised flooring was removed, there would still be a part of the floor there, because the new instrument storage is going to have a level floor. Well, when it was demoed, this is what was there. There was no floor there. So a new floor has to be installed there. And the cost of that floor is $21,252. What has to happen is The contractor has to come and put some steel in here, put some decking, rebar, and pour in concrete. I vetted that cost, went through it with the contractor, came up with a price, and I think that $21,252 is a fair cost for the work, and it needs to be done, and we need to do it quickly, approve this change order so we continue on with the work and not delay the progress. The second one is there was existing hot water supply heating piping coming down that corridor between the auditorium and that instrument storage, or the instrument music area. That piping is covered in insulation. It was supposed to be 2.5-inch pipe. And as you can see in this next slide, there is additional new rooftop units in the guidance area that are going to be fed from those existing pipes. Well, when we went to make the taps, the pipe's only 2 inches. So it doesn't have the proper volume to supply the new units. That pipe is going to have to be removed, replaced, and re-insulated. And of course, now's the time to do it while everything's open. The cost of that is $20,000. Again, I went through the cost. They give us itemized breakdowns, and that cost is fair. I recommend you accept it. I put this in your packet, or handed out. This goes to your question, Mr. Rabinowitz. If you look at that, now, this chart doesn't have these two change orders in it, okay? But up until these two change orders, we're 34% through the project. We only used 12% of your contingency, which is, we're doing pretty good. Okay, if you add this $40,000, you can see we're up to $200,000, which is 15%. We're still doing good. We're through a big chunk of work, demolition, where we'll find unforeseen conditions. I mean, we still got to get into the cafeteria, some of the educational facilities for our classrooms, but we're still doing pretty good.
I had a question, just to clarify. These two change orders were due to things that on the original diagrams, looking at the original diagrams, you could not see these?
Yeah, you could not see them.
Okay.
Right.
So,
they were definitely unforeseen.
okay.
I mean, the good thing to understand is even if they were on there, we'd end up paying for them anyway. You know, and like I said, we went through, vetted the cost the contractors gave us, and we're trying to get to the best value for what has to be done.
Obviously, we have to approve this, but the floor underneath, the lack of a floor underneath the stage, that couldn't have been anticipated?
Well, I mean, they used the existing drawings, and it wasn't built to the existing drawings. Did they crawl through all the tunnels when they put the documents together? No.
Okay.
I do have one question. And like you said, whether it was seen in the beginning or not, it still has to be done. We still have to take care of it. My only question is, with the piping for the HVAC units, has anything been put in there that needs to be removed so this can be redone? Or is it just...
We caught that ahead of time. That's,
okay,
that's a really good point.
That was my question, because I didn't want to have to bear the cost of pulling something out that we've already done after we...
No, that's
you
a
got
good
it?
point.
Fantastic.
You know, they found this over the Christmas holiday, and they stopped and gave us this proposal so I could bring it to you in time.
Fantastic.
That before we put anything else in, we get it. That's a good point, very good point.
And I found the other thing that I was talking about. The general contractor included $210,700 of allowances in its bid. During this period, we used $7,702 of this amount for rock removal at the gymnasium. This leaves a balance of $202,997.87. So, does this mean potentially that this balance may not be used?
That's true. If you look at the far right-hand columns of this of that sheet I gave you, you can see all the allowances that are there. And we've used very little of that $500,000 worth of allowance so far.
Now, is that allowance part of the contingency amount, or is that
No, that's part of the
separate, right?
contract. So if we do not use that, that gets taken back from the contractor in a change order, a credit change order.
Okay, and that's what I wanted to make clear.
Sure.
To the public, because while we are approving a lot of change orders, we have built into the project these allowances, which total $576,000, and we've only used $7,000 of that $576,000, according to what I'm looking here.
That's correct.
So, I mean, maybe we will end up using it, but we're certainly doing really well on that end.
We're doing very well,
While we
yes.
may not be doing, and we're not doing terribly on the change orders either.
No.
But I just
Good
wanted
point.
to point that
Very
out.
good point. Yep.
I had another question. I noticed that you're doing a lot of tearing up around the parking lots and other places as well. Things that are not internal to the building, the outside. How is that going? Are you finding any problems out there? I know when you started to excavate in one area.
You know, at the cafeteria.
Right.
That was the only problem we found so far. The good thing is we've done most of the subsurface construction. Now we still got to do the turf field, but we don't anticipate much more than that. So after we dealt with the water lines and the deep excavations at the cafeteria, and typically you find a lot of problems in subsurface excavation. We've done very well there, and I don't anticipate a lot more. As I said, we're almost through that. But, you know, we could find something as we move along. But we're doing well there, too.
Any other questions? Ms. Klaus, did you have a question about this? This is a side note, and just from being in and out of the high school, the Kaufman Road exit, the first one to the gym, is very dark and very narrow. Is there anything that can be done there as far as lighting for night events?
There is lighting scheduled to go in there. It's not in place now. A lot of the new lighting is fed from power panels that are being put in place now. We don't own temporary electric out there. If it is a concern, there's some things we could look at doing, and we'd have to run something overhead. But at this point, we don't have anything in the contract to do something there. But we could look into it if it's a real concern. You raise a good point.
I mean, I'm just one person, but, you know.
I did see someone, as I was driving up to the school, someone actually missed the entrance, turned into, and almost actually ran into the district offices because they missed that entrance, and they, you know, misjudged where it was. And this was actually one of the nights of the concerts, and there were people crossing the road, and they totally misjudged it and went up on the grass by the district office. And I thought, oh my goodness, what are they doing? But now that you say that, I think that's what it was. It's the lack of lighting there at that entrance. They thought they were turning into that entrance, and they missed it. So I don't know, Matt's got some good football lights over there.
Well, why don't I do this? Why don't I take a look and see what we can do?
Okay.
And what kind of expense we have, and I'll review that with Mr. Nestor.
Okay.
And then we can present it to you.
Great. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you.
Dave has a documentation.
We don't have it. But we need to order.
We don't have the formal change orders yet, but if we
Why don't do
have,
it subject to the formal change orders be provided, authorize the amounts, and Dave to execute those with the board officers upon receipt of the appropriate documentation.
I was just saying, we need to get this started, so we need to order the, okay.
And so it's clear, we're going to authorize the change order amounts and authorize the execution of the change orders, assuming they come in those amounts when they're presented. Is that a little better? I'm trying.
Motion is second. Any questions? All those in favor? Aye.
And we have another, thank you. We have another discussion item this evening. Jamie Doyle couldn't be with us this evening, but John Frey is here to talk to us from PFM about some refinancing and some financing options for the renovation project.
So I just handed out that blue covered packet. What we're here tonight to present is basically the 2015 financing plan. About a year ago, the district borrowed money for its high school project. This year, so that was called Step 1. This year, there'll be another financing that was always planned called Step 2. That's what we're here to discuss tonight, so borrowing for the capital projects. In addition to that, though, because the call dates for some of the district's outstanding debt are coming up, meaning they're eligible to be refinanced, we're able to plan for that as well. Interest rates are very, very low right now, and because your debt is callable or eligible to be refinanced, it's also part of the plan this year then to do a refinancing to save money on interest expense. So I'll go through this handout, and please stop me if you have any questions. But on page 1 is just an interest rate chart. As many of you are aware, interest rates remain very, very low, which is a great time for the district to borrow not only for its capital projects, but also for these refinancing. So it's working very well, and you should see good results this year. On page 2 is what we call the district's outstanding debt service summary, highlighting all the different bond issues that you have outstanding. And in the yellow, those are the bonds, the 2009 A bonds and the 2010 bonds that are eligible to be refinanced this year. The 2009 A bonds can be refinanced basically now or in the next month or so. The other ones, the 2010 bonds, that call date is until October, so we would be doing that more in the summertime, but we're planning for that now. On page 3, back to the high school project. Page 3 is what we call a draw schedule of the construction draws month by month that we work with Mr. Nestor on putting this together. And we plan that there's, if there's about $4 million on the far left and you have project draws every month, we're anticipating in column 5 that about $9.5 million would be borrowed in the next couple months. That'd be the reason why we're here now. And then in addition, if you look down the page in January of 16, another roughly $9 million would then be equal to finish off the projects. Why we highlighted that in the far right column in yellow is there are a couple months there where the cash flows would be short. And talking with Mr. Nestor, the district would be able to use its own cash to make those and then get reimbursed by that bond issue in January of 2016. The reason for that is if we can, we'd like to keep bond issues bank qualified, and so there's a $10 million threshold for that in a calendar year. So that's why this plan works very well. If the district can use its cash, get reimbursed later, it allows this $9.5 million to be bank qualified, and that gives you lower interest rates and a better call feature. So that's all part of the plan that's been laid out. Page 4 is the three-step process or three-step financing plan for the high school project. The blue is step 1 that you've already did last year. It's settled in March. So those rates are already locked in. You have the money for your projects. The red is what we'll be doing next month, called step 2, about $9.5 million of bonds. That would, our estimates is that's what it would look like there in the red. And then a year from now, again, we'd be back for the final step in the green. All then equaling what we have in the gray over on the far right, where you have level debt service of approximately $4.89 million is our current estimate. Okay? The next 2 pages are just the background or the backup data for steps 2 and 3. But page 5, that's what we'd be back here in about a month. On page 5, that's what the bond issue would look like. I think rates will be a little lower than what we're showing here, so that's great news. But again, that's the schedule that we're working with. And then moving off of the high school project financings, the next bunch of pages starting on page 7 are on the refinancings. Maybe the best place to look is on page 10. If we refinance the 2009 A bonds, there's only less than $4 million of bonds to be refinanced, and it's a short deal. So the rates you're paying on that are already fairly low. So there's not a lot of savings there. roughly $80,000, give or take. That's net of everything. So, but because this is past its call date, we feel like if there's any savings, it should be looked at. And so at the moment, this would be a part of the plan. And I'll go through a timeline in a little bit, but the process for this year would be do the new money in February, this refinancing in March, and the larger refinancing then in June. And if you look on page...
Can I interrupt you? Sorry.
Yes, sir.
What happens if we don't refinance? We just don't save the $80,000, but we're still paying it off the same as we have been.
Absolutely. Right. There's no, you don't have to do any of these refinances, you could continue to pay, but if there's a way to save money, that's what these refinances would do.
Will this extend the amount of time it takes to pay off the funds?
No, we are not extending the debt at all. It's just lowering the interest rate.
Thank you.
Sure. The larger refinancing, the 2010 bonds, again, we would try to keep that less than $10 million. If you look on page 16, that's our estimate for if we refinanced about $10 million of those 2010 bonds. The savings right now, again, we can't lock in rates yet, but hopefully in June they'll still be attractive, over $300,000 of savings. So again, very attractive, helps to, obviously helps the district by lowering the overall payment. So we'll keep monitoring those, and I'm sure Jamie and Mr. Nestor we speak quite frequently over the next several months, but we wanted to get that in place. And on page 17 then is a sample motion for you tonight to authorize the financing team. It's an existing financing team that's been doing bond issues here for quite some time. And the timeline, again, 3 different bond sales, and bond sales means that's when you actually would lock in the interest rates. But bond sale number 1 would be February, so I think we penciled in February 10th is your board meeting. That would be the new money bond sale to get the money for the projects. Bond sale number 2, assuming interest rates are still low, March 10th would be bond sale number 2 for the small refinancing, and then I think you have a June 16th meeting would be bond sale number 3 for the larger refinancing. So that's the current plan. And the motion up above would just kind of authorize the team to get all that in place with certainly the help of Mr. Nestor over the next couple months.
I had a quick question about going back to page 4, the step 3, and this might be a question for Dave, but I'm not sure. Since step 3 is in 2016, so basically now in 2016. As we get farther on in the project, we're way under budget right now, which is fabulous. Is it possible that we won't need to borrow this high of an amount? And can we wait and see where we are at that point?
That's exactly the plan. We had talked about the possibility of borrowing everything now and whether that made sense or not. But what this does is allows us to scale it back if we determine that it's not needed. This is based on the plan, the budget. As we move forward through the year, we'll have a better idea where we're going to come in and keep everybody informed, and so that we don't overborrow.
Is the $80,000 that we anticipate savings for this year's budget, or from this year's bond refinancing, pardon me, already factored into our budget, or would this represent surplus money?
None of this has been factored into our budget other than level debt service payments. So no, we did not recognize any savings on the refinancing.
Since we're anticipating fairly substantial savings that would go into effect in July, which therefore would be next year's budget, I would think that we would want to factor that into our costs as we go through the budget.
We can certainly do that. That'll be the board's decision. The one thing to caution you on is this won't recur next year in the 16-17 budget. So you'll be starting, if we If we are able to save $400,000 between these two refinancings, that's great. It'll help us through this budget, but next budget will start in a $400,000 hole because that won't happen again.
So this is the last time that we'll be able to reap any savings from refinancing?
There'll be a call date in 5 years, so you'd be able to refinance in 5 years, but this would be the last time that you'd be able to do this for 5 years. Sure.
And that was the other thing. You said we're going to wait till February, that in February interest rates you anticipate will be lower than they are now. Did I hear you say that?
No, the interest rates today are a little bit lower than what we're showing in here for the new money.
Oh, I see.
I wish I had that crystal ball.
Well, I was going to say, I
clear
was
enough,
going to hire you, so.
No, I mean, rates have, over the last month have come down over the holidays. It's been, really, really good. But again, yeah, we really don't know. But so far, if you look back over the plan that you started a year ago, things are working out because rates are still very, very low.
But we can't lock in early because the call dates determine when we can refinance. Is that a true statement?
That's right. And
Okay.
We're trying to lock in the new money as fast as possible because you need the proceeds for your projects, and they're longer bond issues and larger bond issues, so we'd like to get those rates locked in as quick as possible.
Great. Any other questions? So I'm going to make the motion here. The Board of School Directors of the Potts Grove School District does hereby authorize the administration to work with Public Financial Management Incorporation as independent financial advisor, Fox Rothschild LLP as bond counsel, and a solicitor to proceed with the issuance of general obligation bonds to be issued in part as part of a multi-step plan with one or more issuances, the proceeds of which will be used towards funding the capital building program and the current refunding of all or a portion of the district's Series A of 2009 and Series of 2010 bonds via competitive internet auction.
Second.
Motion and a second. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Thank you.
Great.
And with that, we'll move on to our board student representative report.
Okay, hi everybody. This past November, I went with Mr. Dorenzo to the Pottstown High School, and I met with the student representatives there. We were both very surprised to see that they actually have 4 student representatives, and there's like 2 that sit on the board, and then there will be 2 in the audience, and then they rotate for every month. So when I was talking to them, I found out that this gave them like a really wide breadth of knowledge about the student body, and I think that it's something that we should maybe consider is to maybe have an additional student board representative, or maybe even 4, I don't know. But we could talk about that further because I thought that it was a really good idea and that it allowed for just a greater range of student representation because they were all like involved in different things. So we started the one-to-one initiative in school, and all the laptops were distributed. And I'm going to speak more about that next month because there hasn't been a lot of time to get feedback because we're still just kind of getting used to it. But on a more serious note, there's been problems within Potts Grove School District regarding cyberbullying. And it started the week before Christmas break with the after-school app. Well, I shouldn't say it started then because like it's, it unfortunately goes on a lot of the time. But the after-school app, it's called, really had a lot of attention on it the week before Christmas break. And the app allows students to anonymously post on like a web page, and most of the comments were really vindictive and hurtful and directly attacked a lot of people within the school district. So Apple, who created the app, has deleted it, but students who had downloaded it can continue to use it. No students can download it anymore, but those who did can still post whatever they want on the app. A lot of students have come forward to administration and told them about what's going on and made them aware of it. And teachers, students, and administration have been working together to raise awareness not just about this app, but about cyberbullying in general. So far we have held 2 leadership meetings with students, teachers, administration, and law enforcement. And at these meetings, we brainstormed ideas about how we can spread awareness of the effects of cyberbullying and harassment, how we can provide positive reinforcement for how to use the internet and different social media devices for students. And we have held a support group for students about their experiences with bullying. 2 of my teachers, Ms. Hayden and Mrs. Scott, have held these support groups, and I attended and I found that it really provided a good platform for students to share their experiences and to really feel like there's people who understand them and are there to help them. So all in all, I'm really proud of all of the students and the staff members who are really just taking action instead of being bystanders during this ordeal. And so we're really working to raise more awareness about cyberbullying. And I would like to encourage any parents who are watching this right now to speak with their children about cyberbullying and about how to be safe on the internet, and also about the inefficacy of being a bystander. We plan on having another leadership meeting either late January or early February. It's an ongoing movement, but we're going to make sure that there's permanent change. So thank you.
Thank you, Chloe, and I wanted to add to that because I'm just so proud of the students that are involved in this leadership and Dr. Ziegler that have worked so hard together. I asked Dr. Ziegler to put this group together, and he's just done a tremendous job trying to bring the students together with some of our guidance counselors and our teachers, as Chloe indicated, and also we invited our school resource officer and Chief Foltz from Lower Pottsgrove, and we put our heads together, and to see the kids working with the faculty on trying to come up with the ideas to address this issue, not only really address this issue, but just to bring awareness to the fact that in Pottsgrove School District, we want to respect others and we want to respect each other. And the last time we met, just this last week, we came up with a name for our group. We're going to call it the Pottsgrove High School Unite. I don't know if you mentioned that. I didn't hear you say that, but and the kids are coming back together on the 30th, as Chloe indicated, and we're going to kind of flesh out how we can move this even further forward and also invite some additional students and get a broad representation of the high school student body so that we can continue this great work. And I know you're aware of and you approved the social media digital literacy speaker that's coming, and that's one of the things that the students embraced through this group. So we're trying to move those types of things forward for the students, to help the students. And then what we thought was that they can take the work of this gentleman that's coming out to speak to students and to speak to parents, and then the students are going to help, and we're going to further the conversation in smaller groups to kind of broaden that conversation and continue that work after the speaker is gone. And the last thing, did you mention the Ophelia project? Because I thought that was really cool too. Do you want me to say it, or do you want to say it? We have a national group, a skills and youth leadership group that's coming together where they bring college students from a local college, and Mr. Schuster's organizing this and invited students, and then our students are going to be participating with the college students to build leadership skills next week, and then we're going to bring that work back and kind of spread that out through the high school as well. So that's just some of the great things that they're doing, and I thank you, Chloe, for being involved in that. So you're doing a great job.
Shelley, I also wanted to just make sure, since you mentioned that we're bringing, I guess it's Josh Ox in on the 26th of January, he's going to be speaking to parents who attend at what time on that date? 7 o'clock, I think, is what I remember.
There's something in your packet. Is it 7 o'clock? Thanks, Dr. Scherr.
At the high school?
We're having it at the middle school because of the construction project. We thought that would be a better venue. the middle school auditorium.
Well, and I just want, because there was some chatter about this on social media, I just wanted to say that that part of the reason that I thought this was such a good idea directly relates to what Chloe spoke about and our need to be proactive in this area on behalf of our kids. So I was very enthusiastic about this particular expenditure, and I think it's well worth it. And then I also had a question. I don't know, maybe Michael knows the answer. If we still have students using this app, are they doing it on Pottsgrove machines, or did they download it onto personal machines? And if they did download it onto our machines, can't we get it off of them?
Yeah, they're not on our machines. What they may have downloaded on is their personal phone or their personal device. Okay.
Any other questions or comments? And thank you for your report and being proactive in the school. And I'm proud to hear that that idea was birthed out of the student body and we're able to move forward with it quickly. That's the type of change that we want to see. And we'll rubber stamp those changes that you guys bring to the table all day. Thank you. New business.
Okay, we have a couple things under new business that I wanted to just speak to you about, but I would like Dave to highlight the timeline for the budgeting process, because the way in which our board meetings fell this year and the way in which we kind of reorganized, we had to work within the budgeting timeline per the state, and thus we have a preliminary budget that we would like to, that we need to post. It has to be public, and we're going to be posting that preliminary budget with the understanding that we're going to be coming back on the 27th during committee, which is the Finance Committee, and making a full presentation of that budget, of the preliminary budget, and having conversation at that point. So Dave, do you want to just review the timeline a little bit for the board?
Sure. Under Act 1, the entire budget process is keyed towards the possibility of a referendum question on the primary election in May. So from that point forward, there are certain thresholds in which you have to have certain things accomplished. And for all intents and purposes, we need to have a preliminary budget adopted by February 18th. So looking at our calendar, our regularly scheduled board meeting for February is February 10th. So we'd like to have the preliminary budget adopted that day. Now, a preliminary budget is just that. There is no commitment that we're going to raise taxes to cover whatever the situation that is supported by that budget at that point in time. It's merely the starting point for the budget process. However, in order to adopt a preliminary budget on February 10th, we're obligated to have it available for public inspection for 20 days prior to that date, which would go back earlier than the January 27th meeting when we'll be having our budget presentation. So we're going to make the budget available for public inspection. It'll be posted on our website tomorrow, as long as the board's okay with that. And it'll be available for the public to review online, or they can stop by the district office and review the budget. Again, as part of our committee, our Finance Committee meeting on the 27th, we'll have a more comprehensive walkthrough of the budget, be able to answer any questions that the board or the community has at that point in time.
I just wanted to make a comment on this. We had talked in executive session about maybe not wanting to put out the budget until that meeting so there could be some explanation. And as I went home and thought about it, I thought, actually, I think this is a really good way to do it, because you can sit at home, look at the budget, and then come to the January 27th meeting. The public can listen to the presentation, possibly have some of your questions that you have in your head answered, and then if you have further questions, then can ask them as well. But it gives the public a little time to look through it, digest it a little bit, and be able to come with questions. This is a long process. There's going to be a lot of questions. But I actually think that this is, for me, rather than having a new budget and having to look at the numbers while listening to a presentation, it might be actually more helpful for the public to be able to sit at home, look at the numbers, and then come, listen to the explanation, get their questions answered, and move on from there. So I actually think that this is, for me, almost a better way to do it than to just give out the numbers as it's being explained.
Yeah, just to clarify.
I just wanted to clarify, it was discussed in a budget workshop, but not an executive session.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right.
Makes me feel a little better.
Yeah.
Are there any other questions or comments about the timeline? Is there any questions from the public about the timeline? Okay. I don't think we need an approval or anything like that. We wanted the public to be aware of why there's a budget online and we hadn't had a presentation. Okay. Thank you, Dave. Any other new business?
Yeah, I just wanted to remind the board that annually we have a Color Day celebration at the high school, and this year our Color Day is scheduled for January the 23rd, which is next Friday. And I encourage you, if you haven't been to Color Day for speeches in the past, I think, Rick, you came maybe last year, to come this year, because our theme is respect, and that kind of goes in line with this group that's working together, and we are anticipating some wonderful speeches on the part of students. And then I believe at 12:45 there will be the presentation of the awarding of the student who's winning, and that followed by a staff volleyball game if you'd like to participate as a staff member or as a pseudo-staff member, as a board member, or just watch. And you might see a couple of us out there. Thank you.
I just want to say that I did go last year, and it was a very rewarding experience. I encourage everybody who can. Unfortunately, I won't be able to this year, so I think it's good for us to be represented for one, and for two, it's if you have never done it, it's a worthwhile thing to do.
Just a question. What time do the speeches begin? Do you have a timeline for that? Probably Dr. Ziegler question.
Dr. Ziegler, what time do the speeches begin for Color Day? Just want to...
They're in the morning, probably around 8:30.
8:30. Okay.
I will say that missing the staff volleyball game almost makes me see if I could reschedule my, not to play, but just to watch.
Any other new business?
I have one. Part of the construction project, we're going to be attending a zoning hearing board meeting on Thursday night, the 15th at 6 o'clock at Lower Pottsgrove Township. We're seeking some relief from some sign ordinances for the signage on the building. Anybody's welcome to attend that wants to. We hope that it is a relatively short and uneventful meeting.
Any other new business? The only other thing I wanted to mention tonight was over the weekend or Friday, you might have seen in your mailbox the annual report, or the kind of the bigger version of the Achiever that highlights some of the things that are going on in the district. And there's just so many exciting things that are going on right now, from one-to-one to the high school construction project. There's a lot of things that we want the public to be informed of. We want them to know about. There's a lot of things that we're proud of in the district as well, you know, and concerns of parents being addressed. If you have questions, we want to encourage parents, reach out to your teachers, reach out to your building principals. They're very, how can I say this? The issues are being resolved quickly when handled with privacy, delicately when it needs to be, and also very fast and efficient if we go through the proper channels. So I'd hate to call them complaints, but when things come up, just go, we can work out and mitigate a lot of problems and handle the problems if you just go right through to your building principals. One-to-one is exciting. I know my kids are excited about one-to-one. My daughter's a junior, and her MacBook, I asked her if she was using it yet in the classroom. She told me yes. I already knew she was, but I tried not to let her know that I got inside information. But they're excited. The kids are excited. The students that I've talked to are excited about what's happening. And we as parents should be equally as excited that our kids are excited about going to school every day, excited about education, excited about doing well in the classroom. Our basketball team is doing a great job. I mean, there's just so much things going on to be proud of, going through this holiday season, going to the concerts. Children did a phenomenal job at the concerts. Everything was beautiful. The parents, I mean, just the support of the community. So we just live in a great community, and we want to continue that, and we're going to start to see that reflect in everything that we see, in our test scores, in our fiscal responsibility. It all goes together. So with that, welcome back to this new year. All right, it's going to be a great year. We're going to see to it that we don't upset anyone or throughout this whole process, okay?
Justin,
So, yes,
if I
ma'am.
could just add one thing. I just want to thank the community for the help and support that they've given to the Morris family during this tragedy. Tens of thousands of dollars were raised to support them, and everyone who contributed and just gave well wishes. I know the family really feel supported and loved by the community, and we really appreciate that.
That's great. Great. With that, we'll make a motion to adjourn. Thank you, Dee. Second, so move. Any questions? All those in favor? Aye. Good night, everyone.